Hey, Natasha Lewis here with Big Rock Organics, and we are at week 7 of the CSA. And we're so excited to be welcoming in some fun new things this week. So come join me as I share a little bit about your CSA box. Okay, so we have basil this week. Now, we've been trying for years to figure out the best way to handle basil. So we've come upon this works pretty well. We've wrapped your basil in a paper towel and put it in a bag. Basil doesn't like to get wet until you're ready to use it. And so we want to keep it, nice and fresh, green and dry and delicious. But we don't want to get the leaves wet until you're ready to cook with it because they'll turn black. And so you can take and put this in a cup of water in the fridge. You can keep it wrapped up in a paper towel and just seal the bag up. I like to personally make a basil olive oil, just puree the basil with the olive oil, and then I can drizzle that and use it anytime that I like. We are just starting with the basil, so we'll be seeing more of that coming in the following weeks, but it is so beautiful and so fresh and it smells so delicious. So we've got that wrapped up nice and tight in your little bundle there for you. So if you're curious what your little paper towel bundle is, it is basil. We've got cabbage this week, that wonderful Caraflex green cabbage, looking wonderful. Those are just such a fun shape, and they are wonderful for all kinds of sautés or sauerkraut. If you're getting a collection of heads, which can sometimes happen. That sounded really odd. Okay, a collection of cabbage in your fridge, then it might be time to consider making a batch of sauerkraut. And it's actually a lot easier than you think. I was scared of it for years, and then we had a volunteer one year, Chad, who forwarded me a really easy recipe. So I will post that link for you. It is a little bit of a process, but it turned out really cool and I was very happy with it, and I do make sauerkraut every year now and it's delicious. So that is something that you can try, and you can even do sauerkraut in a single jar, so you don't have to have a big old crock and ferment and make your witch's brew and everything like that. You can actually just make it in a jar, so it is kind of a fun thing to try. And if you're starting to get a couple heads collecting, you could take and do that. Now, it does take a few weeks to ferment, so typically, July made sauerkraut is going to be ready around early fall. So it's kind of a fun experiment to do, and that you can do, right in your kitchen, in your fridge. It's very fun and easy. So fermentation is a area that takes a little bit of bravery to dip your toe into, but it is a really fun area to explore and extremely healthy for you. So that's just another thought with that cabbage there. Of course, speaking of pickles and whatnot, beets, we've got beets for you this week in all the different fun colors. And again, if you're starting to get a little collection of beets, you can also freeze them, roast them, and then freeze them, and they're great to use. Now, anything that you're freezing and you want it to be individual cubes, freeze it on a freezer tray, and that way they're going to be individual when you freeze it, and you can just sprinkle out some and use them, and that's just a great idea. You can also use them in smoothies and things like that. I have to say that this week I'm very proud of myself. In my kids camp with Esther's Place, we made healthy smoothies and we made them rainbow colored. And okay, I know it's terrible, but I've never had a green smoothie before in my life. So this was the week and I tried it, and I probably cheated a little bit because I used yogurt and bananas and spinach, which I'm pretty sure if you blended bananas with about anything is going to turn out delicious, but it was fantastic. So that was kind of fun. But beets, same way, you could throw some of those into your smoothie and get a nice rich color. So if you're freezing beets, it's a great way to prolong the season and then make your smoothies later on. So we've got the beets, and of course all those great greens with them as well, whether you choose to use those or not. We've got those delicious wax beans. Now, this is bean week. Bean week means that the beans have hit their peak and they are just coming in by the load full. So God bless our volunteers, because they have been amazing. To tackle bean picking needs to be done every couple of days. Really, you cannot miss more than just an everyday every 2-day cycle, and they have to get picked. And it's kind of relentless, and it's not a fun job. And these beans are brought to you with blood, sweat, and tears, and lots of love and lots of dedication on behalf of all of our farm volunteers here. And Caroline, she is a bean mega picker. So these are a real labor of love. So we do have a couple different kinds of beans throughout the season. And this year I have promised everyone that we're going to only have one variety at a time, so as to not be overwhelmed by all the picking. So our yellow ones, the next variety that's planted is the green, and then we will be planting our last variety of dragon's tongue beans here shortly. So it is a lot of fun. I love these just sauteed, steamed first and then sauteed. So good. But you know, you can also, if you're feeling like you want to try something different, deep fried string beans are really good too. And you can find lots of recipes. We'll drop one in there for you as well. We were just at the Renaissance Fair this weekend, and we had a vegetable tempura plate, and it reminded me of how much I love having fried vegetables. As much as it's probably not good for you, it is a little guilty pleasure, and these make a wonderful fried little treat if you want to try something different. So, you know, doing a deep fried string bean, I know, not the healthiest thing in the world for you, but if you want to feel like you're at the fair, you can fry up some of these bad boys. So speaking of bad boys and fried food, one of my all-time favorites is, of course, fried zucchini, and then you can make that into all kinds of wonderful Italian dishes. So we are starting to get loads of zucchini in. So we have lots of zucchini, we have the yellow ones as well. So they're gonna taste like zucchini and have the same texture as zucchini. And then slightly different are those, the Zephyr. And they are like a dipped in Easter egg dyed, and those are summer squash. So lots of squashes coming in this week. These are a wonderful, like, plain flavor profile that you can make into anything. So anything that you want, you can add them to anything with a sauce or a marinade or whatnot, and they're gonna absorb the flavor. They're great grilled, they are great sauteed. I don't like to cook them very much. I like them still to have a little bit of crunch to them, but one of my favorites is just to simply saute with olive oil, garlic, onion, and some of the squash, and then top with cheese and sprinkle your favorite seasonings on there. And that is just such a delicious summer dish. We've been enjoying a lot of the zucchini here this week, and I hope you will as well. Now, if you're like not the biggest fan of summer squash, a couple of good tricks to tuck it into foods you wouldn't normally think of. My friend Holly and Randy, they put it in their tomato sauce. They shred it and add it to the tomato sauce. I believe they do that, or chop it, I can't remember, but it makes the sauce thicker and more complex in flavor. You'll never know it's in there. It's such a great thing to tuck the zucchini into, so you'll never know. Also, I love to make chocolate zucchini cake, and that is another guilty pleasure. But the zucchini makes it really moist. So of course I'll use zucchini breads and things like that are great, but also chocolate zucchini cake. So we'll put a recipe in there for you as well. If you are getting a lot of squash in the weeks to come, you can grate it and freeze it in bags for the amount that you need for a recipe, and then I just pull that out all season long. When I'm feeling like baking, when it's not 90 degrees outside and I want a nice treat, that zucchini's ready to go. So those are just a few ideas for you. Trust me, this week you might enjoy all the fun things you can do with zucchini, but then a few weeks in you'll probably be like, what did she say about adding it to sauce and freezing it, because I got a lot of zucchini. So zucchini is starting. That is so exciting. Another thing that's starting and is going to town are our very famous soy long cucumbers. I'm so excited about those guys. So these are just the best. Now, if you are not familiar, we have a few new members who might not be familiar with our soy long cucumbers. They are the best cucumber in the world, I think. They are crispity, crunchy, and they have so much flavor. I will say both zucchini and cucumbers are oftentimes better stored like on the counter. I'll sometimes just put a damp towel over them. You can put them in the fridge, but I think they do store better for a couple of days on the counter. But yeah, these are so crispy and crunchy, and they're so delicious. And right now, I just love eating them crispy and crunchy, just as they are, with a little sprinkle of salt. But I might also make them into like a dill cucumber salad. So if you still have some dill left or some that you froze, that's great to pair with it. Also, you know, make a homemade tzatziki sauce is so delicious. Also some homemade refrigerator pickles, lots of ideas for cucumbers. And since these are just starting, they'll be here to stay for a few more weeks, and we do several plantings of cucumbers, so that we'll have several, you know, batches of cucumbers, because you can never have too many cukes and zooks. So very excited to see those guys. All right, we got our friendly little Swiss chard again. We try to alternate and make sure that you get some different greens throughout the summer, and Swiss chard and kale are going to be here to stay. And that one, I just had somebody who said, oh, I just love Swiss chard so much, and her trick is really just that extra little hint of lemon at the end after sauteing, and it just helps to kind of counteract the little bitter flavor that Swiss chard has, and just makes it really delicious. And of course, you can, while you're making your tomato sauce with the extra zucchini slid in there, you can put some of the Swiss chard in there as well, and that makes an extra yummy addition to your Italian pasta night. So Swiss chard, and of course you can cook everything. Cook those stems, cook the leaves, cook it all. It's all delicious. And last but not least, I think we have some head lettuce. Isn't that fun? So this is we have a couple different varieties we'll be bringing to you, and these are these wonderful varieties that are in the Salanova family that Johnny Seed produces. And just geeking out here with a little bit of vegetable knowledge for you. They make such a nice head, they cut so easily, but the beautiful thing is you can just simply cut this core out, and then poof, it all just falls into like perfectly sized leaf lettuce. So it's really nice. I love these. They're great size, and they're so delicious and crispy crunchy for your salads, sandwiches, burgers, that kind of thing. So we have this week a variety of lettuces, and then we will probably be taking a little break while we're waiting for the romaine and the iceberg lettuce to mature. Those are other varieties that are coming along. So what to look forward to in the next couple of weeks? We are monitoring sweet corn coming in shortly. Very excited. Peppers for next week. Also watching the potatoes. Got to check those and see how they're doing. We like to dig up some of the fresh new potatoes to put in boxes around this time of the year, and other things like that. So that's all, folks. Thanks for joining me this week, and happy cooking.